Improper supplements and improper UVB bulbs are the leading cause for health issues with chameleons. Things like metabolic bone disease, closed eyes during the day, etc. are all things that could be prevented with proper care. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about UVB supplements to make sure that you're using the correct ones to keep your chameleon nice and healthy. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I want to give a quick shout out to Walmart for sponsoring today's video. Walmart has literally thousands of reptile supplies available on their website, making it both convenient and easy for you to ensure that you're using the correct supplies with your chameleon. Everything that I'm going to be talking about today in this video will be linked in the description box below and is available on walmart.com, so feel free to check them out. Most people know that chameleons need a heat bulb, but where it gets a little tricky is with the UVB bulb, because there's lots of different options. So what I'm going to be recommending to you guys is to use a T5 high output linear UVB bulb. Looks like this guy right here. In here we have the Reptisun T5 5.0, which is a great option. And then you could also use the Arcadia 6% T5 UVB bulb as well, which would fit into the Reptisun T5 fixture. Now, you might hear people using T8s, which can totally be used. There's lots of different UVB bulbs that you could use successfully for a chameleon. The T8s are older technology, so they don't penetrate as far into the enclosure as the T5s do, which are a much more efficient bulb. So for a 48-inch tall enclosure, this is what I'm recommending. The T5 5.0 or the T5 6%, either by the Reptisun brand or Arcadia brand. Now, if you're using a T8, because they're not as efficient, odds are you will probably want to use a 10.0 instead of a 5.0, slightly stronger bulb because of the different style of bulb and older technology. Okay, you'll also hear people recommending a Reptisun 10.0 or an Arcadia 12%. Those could also totally be used for your chameleon. However, I would encourage you to purchase a solar meter if you're also deciding to use the 10.0 or the 12%. Just because sometimes that's too much UVB for your chameleon, and the only way to know for certain is to use a solar meter, which is why I'm recommending the Reptisun 5.0 or the Arcadia 6%. This is based off of my own personal experience in current research in the chameleon hobby right now. That's what the industry standard is. Now, as far as the size of the fixture and bulb goes, this is the 36-inch fixture with the 34-inch bulb. We could also get a 24-inch fixture with a 22-inch bulb. I don't think it makes too much of a difference as far as what size you decide to go with. I personally rock the 36 inches on Neptune and Luna's enclosure, and then Venus has the 24-inch. So there you go. Also important to note that your UVB bulb should be turned off at night and should only be used for the daytime. I also have an entire video just on UVB, so feel free to check that out if you want to learn more. Now that we have UVB taken care of, let's talk about supplements. Supplements are just as important as UVB. They are not a nice to have, they are a have to have, and are also a matter of life or death when it comes to your chameleon. So it's super important that you follow a good supplement schedule. Just like with the UVB bulb, there's tons of different supplement schedules that are out there that are totally great to use. What I'm going to be recommending is what I've personally been using for the last 5 years, what I think is the most simple and easy to follow. So then we'll talk about that along with a couple other supplement schedules that you can do instead. So the supplement you will primarily be using is something like this, calcium without D3. Now there's tons of different brands out there, but they're basically all the same. They're just plain old calcium. So this is what you want to use every single time that you feed your chameleon on all the bugs. You just give them a nice little dusting, give them a little shaky shake, and then they're ready to be fed off to your chameleons. So remember, you want to be using calcium without D3, and it'll say it right there on the container for you. And some people ask me why we need to use calcium, because they're like, oh, they don't get calcium in the wild, which is totally true, but the bugs that we feed in the wild are very different than the ones we feed in captivity. The bugs we feed in captivity, like crickets, have a higher phosphorus amount than calcium amount. So using the plain calcium helps keep that phosphorus to calcium ratio balanced, and so that's why we use this supplement. In addition to your plain calcium, you also want to use a multivitamin. Now there's tons of different multivitamins out there. The one that I personally like to use is Reptivite. Now there's two kinds of Reptivite. Reptivite without D3 and Reptivite with D3. So this one is pretty straightforward and easy to use because it's basically a 2-in-1. So if you have a panther or veil chameleon, then you'll use this around 2 times a month. And if you have a Jackson's chameleon, you only need to use it 1 time a month. But If you're using the Reptivite without D3, then you'll need to use a third supplement. This is calcium with vitamin D3. So if that's the case, you have the one that doesn't have any D3 in it, totally fine. You again will use this 2 times a month for a veiled panther, once for Jackson's, and then additionally you will use the calcium with D3 2 times a month for a veiled panther and once for Jackson's. So you're basically combining these two, alternating between the two, or you're just using this one. This is the 2-in-1 versus the 2 different supplements. So in the day that you use the multivitamin or the calcium with D3, then you won't use the plain calcium. You'll just use those ones for the day. Now these multivitamins are great because they help with eye health, and then the calcium is great because it helps with the bone health. Because if you're giving your Chameleon improper supplements or none at all, or the wrong ones with the wrong UVB, then the bones can start pulling, or the body can start pulling calcium from the bones, and that's how things like metabolic bone disease. If you're not using something that has vitamin A in it, then things like eye issues along with improper UVB can lead to health issues. And please keep in mind you don't use the calcium with D3 too often, again, just a couple times a month, because too much D3 can be toxic for your Chameleon, which is why it's so important that you're double checking that you're using the calcium without D3 the majority of the time, and this one only a couple times if need be. And just like with UVB, I have an entire video just on supplementation because I know supplements and UVB can get pretty tricky, but I hope this is a good overview video, helps you get started, and helps you realize if you need to continue doing your research on UVB and supplementation. And again, all of the products that I talked about in this video will be linked down in the description box below. And thank you again to the team at Walmart for sponsoring this video. Super appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave any questions or comments down below. Feel free to subscribe so when I post a new video. Follow Neptune and all my chameleons on social media at Neptune the Chameleon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Nice and healthy. Healthy.